Good morning, everyone.
I see a few people are still joining, so we'll give it a minute or two.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, we'll probably make a start about 3 minutes past, if that's okay with everyone. We'll just give everybody a couple of minutes just to get in, make sure that there's no stragglers. More people. Just going to wait, just for anybody that's just joined, we're just going to wait a couple of minutes just until everybody's arrived that's going to arrive, and then we'll make a start about 3 or 4 minutes past, if that's okay with everyone.
I think that's just about everybody now, Finlay.
Okay.
Okay.
Robert, and I'll drive the PowerPoint.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for joining this Power Up for Power Apps webinar hosted by KIK ICT in conjunction with Microsoft Tech for Social Impact. My name is Robert DL, New Business Exec at KIK ICT, and joining me this morning is Finlay Carmichael, also from KIK ICT, along with Chris Lines from Microsoft Tech for Social Impact. We're excited to explore how Power Apps and the wider Power Platform can support charities and non-profits in streamlining fundraising activities, pledge management, and online donations. In today's fast-changing digital landscape, organizations need agile and cost-effective solutions to maximize impact. Power Apps offers organizations a low-code platform that enables you to build custom applications that can be tailored to your needs without the need for extensive technical expertise. So whether you're looking to enhance donor engagements, automate workflows, or simplify data management, then Power Apps can help. So here is this morning's agenda. Over the next 45 minutes, we'll dive into a practical use case, provide live demonstrations of Power Apps in action, and provide guidance on how you can get started. We encourage you to ask questions either in the chat or at the end. So shortly after this webinar, you will all receive an email with a link to a recording of this webinar. We hope that you enjoy the session and find it useful. To kickstart the session, it's over to Chris at Microsoft Tech for Social Impact to provide an overview of how Microsoft Tech for Social Impact are supporting the charity and non-profit sector on a wider global context. Chris.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. And great for so many people turning up. I think I always say this, but over the past few years, we've kind of become webinar fatigued. We're very used to just clicking and joining a webinar, and Thank you so much for still turning up, and thank you for everything you do. I just had a quick glance over some of the non-profit names that have joined today, and there's some familiar ones on there, and there's some ones I've not heard about. But firstly, just thank you for all that you do. The world is a better place for whatever you do, whether that be environmental, animals, or children's charities that I know there's some of on the call. So my name's Chris Lyons. I work in our Tech for Social Impact team at Microsoft. I get to work with partners such as Kik every day, and in turn with charities. Nobody ever goes and donates to your charity and says, oh, I really want that £10 to go on Microsoft licensing. They want to go and save the animals, cure cancer, or help children. And that's what Tech for Social Impact does. That's why we exist in today's world. The next slide, please. So this is our business model. We are very different within Microsoft. We're only 7 or 8 years old now, and so we're still seen as a bit of a startup within Microsoft. And we want to make sure that our technology, firstly, is affordable. So we offer a range of discounts and grants to eligible non-profit customers. We want to make our technology really relevant. And we do that by providing non-profit specific solutions. But most importantly, we give these to our partners to help adapt to you. So as Rob just talked about there, it might be fundraising, it might be grant management, it might be event planning for your specific charity. We know you're very different to how a retail or a bank works, for example. We need to build capacity. So everyone's probably been in an organization where some kind of project has been rolled out and they've not had the skilling, they've not had the pre-planning, and it's failed. We've seen it, I've seen it internally at Microsoft. But what we want to do is give you the confidence and give you the skills to go and use that technology, whether it be Power Platform that's going to be covered today, whether that be Copilot, whether that be Excel. We want to make sure that you as a user, whether it be technical or non-technical, have that capacity to go and do that. And that comes in lots of different ways, whether that be with Microsoft Learn, whether that be with LinkedIn Learning, whether it be with our new AI skilling initiative that we're kicking off very soon in the UK. But without our partners, we could not do any of this. We've got about 450,000 Microsoft partners globally. Around 20,000 of them serve this sector. So quite a small amount compared to the 450,000 we've got. But on them 20,000, we've then got a certain segment of them that do this on purpose. And Kik are one of them partners. They don't just do this by accident. They don't just do this because they adopted a dog from the local dog sanctuary. They do this on purpose and they build things for your sector. Hence why we're sitting here today, surrounded by non-profits doing this webinar. And my favorite thing on this slide that I tell everyone about, everyone I come across at work, is why Tech for Social Impact grows and how it grows and how it survives. Is every single dollar that we make when we sell a license, even though we offer up to 80% discount on a lot of our licenses, every single dollar that we make as Microsoft, we put back into this sector. And Rob, if you flip to the next slide, or Philly, sorry, you'll see some of these numbers. These are crazy numbers. Every time I see this slide, it blows me away. So last year, Microsoft gave $4.7 billion back in grants or discounted software and services back into that sector. Now, to put that into perspective, if there's any non-finance people on the call, that's a lot of zeros. We've been number 12 in the world if we were a country, an aid-giving country like the UK or France. We'd be number 12 in the world, the amount of money we give back. And that is currently serving around 375,000 non-profits globally, which again, seems like a big number, but if you look at the reports, it depends which way the wind's blowing, there's between 4.5 and 8 million charities out there. So if you take anything from today, it's make sure that you're eligible for your Microsoft discounts. Tell your friends, tell your family members if they work for a charity or support a charity. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear where you hang out as charities, because we want to go and tell them about the great work Microsoft are doing. Even if that's just going and getting your free licenses, your 10 free business premium licenses as an eligible charity, then we have to do that. Oh, Leanne, I've just seen in the chat, Leanne can't see the presentation. I can, hopefully everyone else can. I don't know if anyone wants just to put another chat in there to make sure it's not just Leanne. Okay, Steve. Leanne, maybe we're taking out and joining again. Not worrying. Anyway, so just carry on with this slide. So my urge to everyone is make sure that you are registered as a Microsoft charity, and we can see you and we can approve you if you meet our eligibility criteria. And again, I'll share a link in the chat to be able to do that. And my final thing is to tell us, as I said, tell us where you hang out. Tell us about these groups that you're part of that we want to speak to as well. Next slide, please, Rob. Oh, Finley, sorry, Finley's driving, sorry. So this is our mission at TSI, and we've gone 10 minutes on a Microsoft presentation without mentioning AI, which is unbelievable. But our mission statement at TSI is to bring the power of AI to social impact organisations everywhere. I feel that this sector, and I'm not just saying it because I work in it, I feel like this sector can be totally transformed by AI. Every single charity I've ever spoken to has no one has ever said to me, oh, we've got loads of money, loads of time, loads of knowledge, loads of resource. There's usually 3 of the 4 of them missing. And I think this is where AI can come in to really help you streamline your operations. This isn't about replacing people. This is about replacing process. And I really hope that when you think about, and we go through the webinar today, you think about how this can help the Power Platform automate some of your streams. My next slide, please, Finley, and my last one. So this is a quote from our CEO, Satya. You may have seen him before. And Satya talks about that companies that can do more should do more. And that the role of a business is not just to serve its shareholders and that greed is good, because we don't live in this parallel universe. The role of a business, and every business, that's Microsoft, that's Kik, and that's all of our competitors. The role of a business should be to serve its stakeholders. And at Microsoft, our stakeholders are me as an employee, they're our partners at Kik, and they're most importantly, our customers and the communities that you serve. So to keep it really simple, companies that can do more should. You've hopefully seen from this 5 minutes that Microsoft are, and I'd love to hear and speak to as many of you as possible to hear about what you're doing moving forward. With that, I'll hand back over to Finley, and I'll be sticking around for any questions at the end.
Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody can see the screen okay now. Let me just move on. Thanks very much, Chris. Let me just move the presentation on. So thanks very much to Robert and Chris for that intro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges, typical challenges. Now, this is just, appreciate every not-for-profit is different, but I've got some typical challenges that we see and come across when we're talking to not-for-profits. By no means is this extensive. However, I wanted to present some typical challenges here today so that when we go into the demo, we can show how we overcome those. So when we're talking to not-for-profits, one of the challenges typically is that you may have things in lots of different systems. Typically, we see lots of spreadsheets, we see lots of maybe older databases, systems that are hard to maintain, etc. And what a lot of organisations and not-for-profits are looking for is really how can we bring all of this information together into one central place, one source of truth that all of our employees and stakeholders can access and share, and access in a controlled way where they only have access to the information they should have access to. Key to that is contact and organisation management, just simple day-to-day. How do we have a centralized database of all the individuals we deal with, all of the organizations we deal with, and gather the important information and do that in a way that's joined up so that if someone has a conversation with an important conversation or sends an important email, we can log that and we can say, how do I keep all of that information in one place? And then when I access the record, I can see all of the important interactions. So typical good old-fashioned CRM from the point of view of I want a database of individuals and organizations, and I want to know what's happening, and any member of staff can go in and see what's happening at a glance, and we'll have a look at that today. Obviously, in the not-for-profit, people are asking us about managing their donations. They're saying, how can we deal with small donations? How can we deal with recurring donations? And for larger donations or potential donors, how can I cultivate donations, and how can I take someone on a journey where I can research and see if they may be interested in making a donation and identifying them, taking them all the way through the journey of gift management or pledge management to saying, actually, let's get a commitment for them to make a one-off or a multi payment donation over a longer period, and how can we make sure that they deliver on their promises and make sure we follow up on our actions and commitments that we made to them for the donation. So how can we help that gift management process? And we've got an example of that today to show you, and a case study to show you for that today, built using Power Apps. Part of that is obviously automating the communications. Maybe you want a regular comms to go out to donors. Maybe you want a regular communications to go out to stakeholders. Maybe it's automating the thank you when somebody makes a small donation with appropriate messaging that relates to the fund. Again, the Power Platform and Power Apps can help us automate those processes. And again, we'll have a little look at that today. Alongside that, how can we make sure we bring together the data for the right reporting, and that we've got the right governance and controls on the data, again by getting it into one central location, and that we can use different Power Apps to access. We can then say put the right level of control in place, and again we'll talk a little bit about the security and control. One of the great things about doing this on Microsoft, and it's all hosted, all the Power Apps would be hosted by Microsoft, and they're all secured using your Microsoft 365 login or other Microsoft login technology. And the beauty of that is that we're not having to worry about the security. We can leverage off Microsoft's investment in security. We can leverage off Microsoft's investment in the cloud to make sure that we've got secure applications that are backed up by Microsoft, that are hosted in a resilient way in multiple data centers at once. These used to be big challenges that we used to have to worry about. Now, Microsoft are making sure that the systems are that they're secure, that they're highly available, and that they're backed up. So a lot of the risk that we see day to day in terms of building and managing your own applications is then taken away. And finally, a key thing for Power Apps is some of the feedback that we get from not-for-profits and from other businesses as well, is how expensive it is to build and maintain software. If you're building an application, bespoke application from scratch, it can be very expensive or time-consuming to put away. And we've all heard the horror stories of software projects that overrun and software projects that fail. One of the beauties of the Power Platform and Power Apps is the fact that, and I'll show you today, is that it's a platform that we are building on, which means that we can leverage off a lot of the functionality and features that Microsoft give us out of the box. And that means that building and maintaining those solutions is quicker. It needs less expertise. We've got the concept of what we call a citizen developer, which I'll explore more in a little bit more detail. But the idea is that you do not have to be a software professional in order to be able to build and maintain these applications. And for software professionals like we have at Kick ICT, it also means we can build these applications faster for you and maintain them at a lower cost, and it takes us less time to maintain them as well. So again, lots of advantages there. So these are some of the challenges we see, and we'll talk a little bit about how to overcome them, but let's have a look at things in a bit more detail. So what is a Power App? So Power Apps is and the Power Platform. Power Platform is Microsoft's overarching platform that includes Power Apps, includes things like a centralized Power Automate for automations, so things like workflows, etc. Power Apps for building interfaces, database interfaces for business applications. So that might be, for example, a CRM system, or it may be, for example, maybe you want to record all your donations or pledges. So any application where you want to record information. And we have two different types of apps, one of being what we call a model app, which is what we're seeing an example here. And we're going to have a look at a live demo of that. But that's a typical database application where you might say, oh, I want a database of contacts. I want a database of events. I want the people that have attended this event. And then you've got an example of a contact form here with the fields that you would like to hold on your individuals. And on the right-hand side here, we've got all of the interactions with that individual. For example, might be phone calls you've had with them, emails, letters you've sent, all of this, the history of interactions with that person. The great thing about building these model apps is you have a tailored menu these forms, these tabs that you see, all of the fields are completely configurable and very easy to change, which is what I'm going to show you today, which means you can build an application that's tailored to your not-for-profit much quicker than building a bespoke database application. The other thing you're seeing on the right-hand side here is the fact it's mobile friendly. So if you want to access this on your mobile device or your tablet, you can do so. And there's also dedicated apps in the App Store for iOS and for Android, making sure that you can also access this on your dedicated app on your mobile phone, as well as in your browser. So model-driven app has a very distinctive look and feel, really useful for internal staff to create and update records. What we also have is what Microsoft calls a Power App. Sorry, I'll move on. I'll come back to the builder. It's what we call a Canvas app. A Canvas app is more tailored, again, accessed on your mobile phone or your tablet, and typically is what we call a line of business application. What does that mean? Well, it's where you want to, rather than having to train people on how to use an application, instead of having to have a complex interface which might be confusing to people, you can actually build a very simple interface where people can then have typically a single task use. And what do I mean by that? Well, you might build an application where people can submit a leave request. You might build an application where people can book an appointment. You might have another one where staff can check in, so they can go on their mobile phone and say, I've arrived safely at my destination. Maybe it's to check out a particular asset, or maybe it's to add an item to a to-do list, etc. So these Power Apps can have a more tailored interface. They can include graphics, they can include GPS, they can include draw facilities. So people, maybe it's something where an individual turns up and says, please, can I get your signature? They can sign on the tablet screen. These are the things that would be supported by a Canvas app, and typically can be, again, would be used by your staff to push and pull data from that centralized database. So 2 different types of Power Apps that we can use as interfaces. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do a live demo. I'm going to show you a model-driven app in action, and I'll show you this idea of one source of truth with the idea of pooling information together. This is an application that we built for not-for-profits. It's something we have off the shelf. Again, it builds on top of the Microsoft Power Platform and Power Apps. But the idea is that this can be tailored and extended further to your specific requirements. You are obviously completely welcome to start from scratch with Power Apps and build up your own applications as well. That's completely possible, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a bit later in the presentation. But let me bring my screen across to show you the live demo. So hopefully you can all see that. Everybody see that okay? So what we're looking at here today to start with is a Power App. And you'll see this Power App is called S360 Fundraising. It's based on our Subscribe 360 product, which is built for membership orgs and not-for-profits. And what we're seeing here is I've gone into a particular Power App that's been designed specifically for fundraising. So we took the Microsoft platform as it was out of the box, and it comes with accounts and contacts. And what we've added to it is said, well, we want to have the idea of gift or pledge plans. We want to have the idea of development actions and stewardship actions and pledge payments. And we might have legacies from people. People might make a commitment to leave a legacy in their will, and we want to be able to record that. So we'll have another table for legacies. And we want to be able to, for any donations that are made, any payments that are made or donations that are made, we want to be able to gather gift aid on that. And we would like to batch everything up for gift aid, and we'll submit that to HMRC. We also want to record our gift aid declarations, and all our donations may be for particular funds. So we might have things that are ring fenced only to be used for a particular purpose. There may be other things that can be used for any purpose at all. So we can separate things out into different funds as well. So we've added these in to the Power Apps menu that you can see on the left-hand side. And again, I'll show you how easy it is to build and add things to this model-driven app. What we're seeing in the middle here is dashboards. Again, Power Apps can include dashboards. The idea is we can pull out any information from the underlying system. So anything we store in the database, we can then choose to chart and graph. So some examples here, donation management dashboard, showing us how much money has been donated to each of the funds that we've donated here. And I can say, well, I'd like to see how that information was made up. Again, we can drill down. There was no coding required to build these. These were literally drag and drop from the point of view, I would like to have a chart, I would like to have a graph, I want to have a pie chart, and these are the things I would like to show in the pie chart. I can drill down on the pie chart and say, oh, right, so the ones that were made to the Benevolence Fund, let's drill down into these. These are the donations that were made specifically to the Benevolent Fund. If I go here and I say I'd like to go to the Charities and Goodwill Fund, I can see here there's 61 rows, and these are the donations that were specifically made to that fund. And again, I can drill down into those records. So the great thing about Power Apps is, and model-driven apps, not only can we have records, we can create these charts and graphs of any of the underlying data that we have in the system. We can have a central database of accounts or organizations and contacts. This is the idea I was talking about earlier of the challenge of I want to have a central database of organizations. I want to have a central database of individuals. So I can go into an account and say, let's have a look at the Bank of Scotland here. And I can see what information has been recorded on the Bank of Scotland. This is just test data, by the way. There's no real data in the test system. Bank of Scotland, part of Lloyds Banking Group, got the telephone number. Edgar Wright's the main person we're dealing with here. We've got the interactions we've had with them, so any invoices we've sent them, any emails, any phone calls, I can see all of that interaction. And Chris was talking about AI. Microsoft have obviously built AI into Power Apps and into all of their products, but you can see here, for example, just summarizing nicely, Copilot summarizing without me having to read all the content, it's summarizing what's happening in terms of the interactions on this particular account record. Power Apps allows us to put things in the header, allows us to create these tabs with any fields, so the tabs, and I can then choose what information do I want to show on these particular fields. So, for example, what addresses does this particular organization have? Which one's its main address? Which one the billing? Now, what you're seeing here is a pre-configured model-driven app that's ready for use. But how easy are these apps to build? I just want to give you a flavor of how easy they are to build. Now, I'm going to make this look really easy today. There's probably a little bit more to it, but just say we wanted to add a new field into this app, or I want to change the layout. I go into the builder, which is makepowerapps.com. You'll see the same form that we were looking at a minute ago. I can move the tabs about. I can go into the tabs. I can take fields away. I can say, oh, I'd like to maybe add a new tab. I can go into here and say, add a new tab, drag and drop it onto the thing. I can say, oh, I'd like to add a new section to the form. I can say, let's add a new section over here, and I'll add a new section. I can also do things like, well, maybe I want to add a new field in. So let's go to the fields. I can add a new field into the database. So I just say new table column. Pop-up will come up here. I say, oh, I'd like to add a new field called demo. I said like a single line of text, or is it a date field? Is it a lookup to another record? Is it a predefined choice? Is it a currency field in dollars or pounds, etc.? Is it somebody to upload a file? Is it an image? So we've got all these different data types. What we can also do is once we've added the field, and just for speed, I'll just say, here's one I've got earlier. I've got a field called accessibility requirements. I can then drag and drop that field to where I would like it to be on the form. Simple as that. Take a second, and then we've got the accessibility requirements is now on the form. I save and publish it, my app is updated. So it's really easy to build, and this is why we talk about what they call a citizen developer. The idea being that with training, you're what we would call a professional or pro user, a power user, can actually build and maintain these apps without having to come back and rely on an IT company. However, and as you can see, if an IT company is building this, they can also build it faster as well. It also makes it easier to maintain. So what used to be a big job in terms of updating a database with a new field, putting it on a form, becomes much, much simpler. And for the techies that are on the call, the other great thing about this is once I've added that field, That field is then exposed on what they call the API, making it easy to integrate with other systems. So that field's then available to any developers that want to integrate with the system. So with the one change, very, very easy to change those applications. So hopefully that gives you a flavour of how easy it is just to build these applications and also to maintain them as well. Any questions for me on that before I move on maybe to the next part of the demo? Does that make sense? Any questions for me? Anything anybody had at all? Please do put anything you'd like to ask in the chat, and Robert will hopefully see that and ask me if there's any questions on that. And how are we doing for time, Robert?
We're fine for time.
Good. Just show you a little bit of concept on some of these other things that we've added in here. If I go into a gift plan, other things that we can see in model-driven apps is, for example, we've got a potential donation here from an individual called David Rimmer. So we've added a contact into the system called David Rimmer, and he is verbally said he's going to make a pledge a donation to us. So what we might do is, maybe he's a larger donor, so we choose to create a gift plan. So this is a concept of if you've got anything in the system or your requirements where you might want a process flow. So this is the idea, for example, we did this for a large charity, and they said, well, we would like to be able to identify this person and what type of communication. Was it a written pledge? Is it a planned gift? Is it a gift agreement? But we want to gather information at each stage, so for example, up to solicitation, how much have we asked them to donate? How much have they agreed to donate? What's the likelihood of it? Is it a new donor or an existing donor? And which member of staff is looking after this potential donor? At each of these stages, we can have whatever stages you would like, and at each of these stages, you can also choose to make fields mandatory or optional, etc. So it's completely configurable in the same way as the forms are configurable as well. So you can have tailored processes, making sure that people fill in the right information at the right time in the process as well. Here we can have related records. So for example, on this potential donation, we've got, we've said we've got development actions saying we've got to do some initial research, and then we're going to research their past donations as well. So the idea is you can have records related to a record as well. And again, in this example here, we've got development actions. Income plan, you've got here the idea of, well, what pledges have we asked for? What pledges have they agreed? And we can then record as well any payments that they've actually made. So if they've actually made the donation, I can say I'd like to record that record. Quick create form pops up here, and we've received a £10,000 payment. We've received it today. The payment method was by BACS, and the payee was Bank of Scotland in this particular case, £1. We're booking it against that particular gift plan, and yes, it's eligible for gift aid, or no, it's not eligible for gift aid. If we say it's eligible for gift aid and save that, again, you saw there I could tie it to a fund as well. I can then say, let's go and look at the gift aid batch side of things. And then I can then say, let's go and gather all the donations that haven't had gift aid, and I'm going to gather them up. And what I'm going to do is submit that to HMRC. And that's really where the automation comes in, or maybe we want an email to go out to thank people for making a donation. Moving slightly away from Power Apps, a bit more of the Power Platform, we have a tool called Power Automate. You can see the Power theme here. And the Power Automate allows us to automate tasks that we need to do. So maybe when someone makes a donation, we want to send them an email to thank them. Maybe it's sending them a document to be with an electronic signature. Maybe it's maybe we want to flag something in someone's Outlook that they've got a task they need to follow up, or maybe we want to post on Teams automatically to say a new donation has been made. Now, the beauty of having all of these Microsoft products in the cloud and the fact that they all talk to each other means that we can use Power Automate to say, actually, I'd like to push this record to another Microsoft product. Other great thing about Power Automate, because it is a Microsoft product, lots and lots of third parties also provide connectors for Power Automate, such as DocuSign, Sage. All of the major companies have got some form of connector with Power Automate. I've just shown you some examples here in Power Automate itself. These are some templates that Microsoft give us out of the box, but we can also build our own. So, for example, you've got an example here that we've got notify me about something in a database, or we've got send an email when a survey response is submitted. So when somebody submits a survey, send an email out, or email me with a list of upcoming calendar events, or integration with social media, or integration with Gmail and Google Drive. So it doesn't have to, as I mentioned, have to just be Microsoft products. Maybe it's to post something in Teams. So the great thing about Power Automate is it allows us to join those systems together and share data between those systems. And it's great for automating simple day-to-day tasks between your systems. So we use it extensively to automate processes, and a key part of delivering on digital transformation projects. Let me just move on. Yeah, wanted to talk a little bit about online donations. So let me just get that back. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about Power Pages. So I've shown you so far a model-driven app and how easy it is to maintain the database and push and pull things from that database. And we can build and maintain these apps, and they can be tailored to your exact requirements. What we also have is another piece of the Power Platform called Power Pages. And Power Pages allows you to create branded websites or branded portal that you can choose your staff, your stakeholder partners, and potentially also your customers or your donors to access. Now, I'm already logged in. Now, this is branded Subscribe 360, which, as I mentioned, is Kik's product. However, this can be branded to look like your look and feel. So, for example, I'll show you one in a second in terms of how that can look, for example, for the Royal Society, which is a case study we're going to have a look at. But this can be branded. And the idea is, for example, you may want somebody to say, well, I'd like you to be able to make a donation online. So what we can do is we can expose things from the Power App and expose it on the actual website. So here, for example, we've exposed a form where people can say, well, which fund would you like to donate to, and how much would you like to donate? Do you want to create a gift aid declaration at the time and mark this donation, this one-off donation, as suitable for gift aid, and I'll make the donation. What we've also done is we've integrated this with major payment gateways. So the idea being that Power Pages can be integrated with other systems. In this case, we've integrated it with Stripe. So the idea being somebody wants to make a £100 donation to Charities and Goodwill. They put the details in. They put in their expiry date, say 27. Hopefully I've got these details right. PH2, it's just a test system. So just obviously there's no credit card, all 4 2s, and I'll make my payment. And you'll see there, payment is successful. And if we go back into the Power App that we were having a look at a second ago, just to show you how joined up this is, what we should be able to do is say, there's the brand new payment that was made on the 30th of January. And if I click through to that, I should see that somebody has just donated £100. So that's the £10,000 payment. Apologies. That's what I love about a live demo. There it is there. I should have refreshed the screen before I went on to it. So there's the £10,000 donation I manually added, which was backs. Here's the one we just made online, which has just come through. Power Automate's automatically given it a payment reference. It's identified I'm logged in on the portal as Finlay, so it's said it's booked being made by Finlay. Payment date was the 30th of the 1st. I haven't sent a receipt yet automatically, but I can do. And the donation has been booked to Charities and Goodwill. So it just shows you how all these different technologies can talk together. Also, if we have a look at gift aid declarations, if I didn't already have one, it will have created one. So yeah, you can see I've got a new gift aid declaration here, and it says, So Finlay made gift aid. So again, Power Automate's created a record automatically to say new gift aid declaration made on the 30th of January by Finlay at c2software.com with the details that I've filled in. And I said I was a UK taxpayer. So again, we're keeping ourselves right from the idea. Again, just showing the idea of automation and automatically creating these records based on things that people did at the portal. Other things people could do on the portal might be things like keep their details up to date, keep their preferences up to date in terms of communications. Maybe you've got groups and committees they want them to be a member of, manage the organisation's details. Just examples of the sorts of things we could expose. So again, I can expose a Power Apps form on the Power Pages site. So we've got this again, the contact form, but this time the person's updating their details. So if they change their mobile number, if they change their email address, they can do that directly from the portal, updating the data. So I hope that gives you a flavour of what's possible with these different technologies. Unless there's any questions, I'll move on to the next part of the presentation. Okay. Let me just do that. So I've got a little bit of a case study for you. So one of the charities, not-for-profits, larger not-for-profits that we work with is the Royal Society, one of the oldest not-for-profits in the UK and membership organisation. And what they wanted was the idea that you could have large donations and they would have a tailored solicitation process. Built on an example I showed you today. So the idea being that you may want to go through a cultivation process, you might want to keep track of the pledges people have made and have stewardship actions. So the idea that that can be tailored to your not-for-profit's exact requirements. They also wanted automated collection of donations and contributions. Again, using Power Apps, we did that so that they can have recurring donations, so that people can say, I'd like to make a recurring donation, and every month it does an automated direct debit. The idea of a stakeholder self-portal, branded with the Royal Society, but their stakeholders can log in, they can make donations, but also they can keep their details up to date. They can apply for medals and awards. They can apply for events and book on themselves on events. They wanted to have automated gift management. So the idea being that any donations could be marked as eligible as gift aid, as you saw, and the idea is they can automate their submission back to HMRC to reclaim those funds. And the key to them was, and it's worked really well, is they now have a member of staff on the team whose job it is to be a citizen developer. So rather than relying on Kik to do all of the work, what they do is they said they got Kik to set up the initial system, to set up and to tailor it to those requirements and to do the data migration. But then they have a citizen developer who is doing the day-to-day, adding fields, changing things on forms, taking day-to-day feedback, and they're able to work very quickly with their internal staff to execute those changes with guidance from Kik. But it means that the burden, some of the maintenance burden, they've chosen to do that. Now, not all clients do that. You may want Kik to do all of it. You may want to do all of it yourself. But this is very much a hybrid model that we have with the Royal Society, where they do some of the day-to-day maintenance and updates themselves. And it is not a software professional. It's someone who is what we would call a power user. They use Click Dimensions, which is an add-on to Power Platform to do all their marketing automation. We also have a range of Microsoft options available for that as well, including user journeys. And again, we can also use Power Automate for more simpler communications, just to use the platform out the box to do communications with your stakeholders. And it's really been transformational from the Royal Society to move from a lot of disparate systems to move to that one central system where they keep all the information on their stakeholders. And we have a security model that means different people have different access to different aspects of the system. Very few people have access to the gifts and grants and what they call the development information in terms of sensitive information about the pledges people have made. Other people might have access to event information. Other people might just have day-to-day access to the contact info. So we can very much tailor it to what people would like to see. Just a little bit about the Royal Society there and how we've worked with them. So how do you get started with Power Apps and the Power Platform? So hopefully I've stressed to you today, and hopefully you've seen the advantages today, that with taking out what we call Power Apps licenses, you can enable your staff with some training to tailor and build applications to your own requirements. Now you can start from scratch. Microsoft will give you a great system out of the box and you'll have accounts and contacts there and you can tailor it further. But it may be that only gets you 50% of the way there, and it gives you a great platform to build on. What we've done at Kick, as hopefully you've seen, is we've built a number of applications to give you a further leap up there so if you've got things like you're doing gift aid or you're doing pledge management or you're doing things like stewardship management, fundraising, we've got a lot of that framework out of the box, including a portal ready to go with Power Pages, which we can then tailor to your requirements. So maybe we're getting you close to 70-80% of the way there, and you've only got to tailor the final 20%. So the idea though is that rather than having to build things from scratch using the platform, either what Microsoft give you out of the box or what Kick give you, you've got a leg up and you're then just building the final part, and Microsoft are giving us the tools to do that much quicker than would be normal, than you would be with traditional software development, sorry. As I've mentioned earlier, all secured and hosted and backed up by Microsoft. We see it very much as a flexible and cost-effective platform to really deliver on digital transformation. You've got all the building blocks there, and I've not even touched on things like Power BI today for things like reporting, etc. So you've really got a fantastic cloud framework. All of the products will talk to the other Microsoft products in the cloud. And as you saw, there's also potentially third-party products. If you're using products from Google or others, you can also integrate those as well. So really driving down the cost of your initial development, driving down the cost of your maintenance, building these applications faster, maintaining them more easily, and reducing the cost and reducing the potential of any failure. So that's really how can we help? We've obviously Kick has been around since 2015. However, it's made up of 9-10 businesses, some of which have been around for 30 years. And a lot of the staff have transferred into Kick. So we have hundreds of years of combined experience. We've been building with these Microsoft products from day one. So we're a very, very safe pair of hands in terms of delivering or advising you on these Microsoft products. And we're very much here to help. And we're very much here to help the not-for-profits and hopefully give back as well. And as part of that, there's a no obligation 1 hour needs assessment. So if you'd like, just chat what's possible, whether you want to get Kick to do everything for you or you're thinking about just the licenses, we'd be delighted to help and just talk to you about what's possible and how you might be able to apply these technologies. I'm conscious that today we've only got 45 minutes. It's just to give you a flavour. But if you do want to look at things in more detail, please reach out to Robert. His email address is there. We'll also send everybody a copy of the slides. Please reach out and Robert will be more than happy to help. And hopefully, I think I'm a couple of minutes over, but we did start a couple of minutes late. But Robert, I think that's on time. So unless there's any questions, I'm happy to take questions.
There's one. Thank you, Finlay. I thought that was first class. Thank you. And hopefully everybody attending the webinar felt that way as well. Stephen has asked a question. Will Power Apps integrate with non-Microsoft systems of record?
So in terms of non-Microsoft systems, yes. Hopefully, as you saw, in terms of in terms of Power Automate, you've got lots of connectors there, but Dynamics has a completely open Power Apps and Dynamics have a completely open API. So very secured API, it's industry standard, built to industry standard. So any other open system that also provides what we call an API programmer's interface can use that now. So you've got lots of choices. You've got Power Automate to try and make that non-technical, so non-techies can integrate, with Microsoft products. But you've also got a programmer's API, comprehensive API that will adapt as we add fields. We're not having to worry about changing the API, that will adapt automatically. So Microsoft have really done everything they can to make this as open and as transparent as possible so that third parties can integrate with it. And they're even encouraging, as you saw there, Google and DocuSign and other parties to register their products with Power Automate to make it easier for those citizens developers to integrate as well. Hopefully that answered your question, Stephen.
Any further questions? Okay, I think that's a wrap. Thank you all very much for attending. Hope you found that useful and enjoyable. And as I say, if you'd like to take it further, feel free to email me and we'd be delighted to try and help. Thank you.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks, Ed.
You there, Finlay?
Yeah, I'll phone you back on another. I'll phone you, Robert. Yep.
Cheers.
That's it.